Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming Relentless. I am your host, elenoa.mccabe. I'm an IFBB bikini pro and an online health and fitness coach. And today I am going to talk about the physical side of post show. So, we're going to go into the post show bodies, literally like the physical aspect of things. I think the number one thing that I will say is a lot of the feedback that I get post show from my athletes specifically is that you're going from a place where you have quite literally never looked better, but you've also never felt worse. So what do I mean by that? Anyone who has done a prep, like you guys understand the physical exertion and the effort that it takes to go through a contest prep. You look crazy. Like you look so cool. Whether or not like you've competed several times or just like a couple times, like when you compete, that's probably the best that you've ever looked. Like especially if you're a first-time competitor. But the effort and the feeling that it takes to get there, oof. So when I say like, oh, you've never looked better, but you've probably never felt worse, what I mean is like getting that level of lean, especially for bodybuilding, it's hard. It's difficult. It is not an easy task. And I think a lot of the time people underestimate like the fatigue, like the actual feeling of being so tired that you can't possibly like imagine feeling anything but tired. Um, And that physical aftermath of stepping on stage, it's a different level of like fatigue and tiredness. So let's break this into like different sections. So first we'll kind of talk a little bit about like what does happen to the body, what happens in your body, what happens to the body. So when you're dieting, what happens with your hunger signaling. So we've talked about it before, but as you're dieting down, as you're prepping, you're going to have hunger signaling disruption. So your leptin and your ghrelin, those are the two hunger hormones that control the level of like satiety that you feel. So how full you feel after a meal. And then leptin is going to signal like your hunger, literally your hunger. So what happens is when you're dieting, our bodies have a evolutionary mechanism where they're going to signal to us like we're hungry, we're hungry, we're hungry. But when you're dieting for a show, like yeah, you have to just be hungry because you're trying to lose body fat. But then on the other side of that, which is like really upsetting, is you never quite feel full, right? So if you've competed, you're very familiar with this. You're always hungry. And despite eating your meals, even if you are eating a lot, you never feel satisfied. And that's because those hunger signals are disrupted. And the other things that can occur are your thyroid starts to get suppressed and your cortisol gets driven up. And those do go hand in hand. One thing in your, like, our systems are interconnected. So you can't look at just one aspect of it and be like, oh, yeah, like, because my cortisol is driven up, that's why I feel tired. It's like more than likely like, oh, your cortisol is up, your thyroid hormones are being suppressed, your body's very resistant to losing any body fat, and that's why you have to push, push, push. So what happens to the body like physically during the prep doesn't just stop on show day. You worked really freaking hard to get there, and a lot of the time your hormones are going to be disrupted. And now post show, it's not like a flip of the switch for your body to just go back to normal. So not only did you work really hard to get to this certain point, but now you have to extend the diet. So you have to reverse diet. You have to extend your hunger. And more than likely your hunger signaling is going to take like 6 to 12 weeks to actually regulate. And your body is just going to be in a very sensitive state. So what happens immediately post-show? Typically, if you are lean enough and post-show you go out to get a meal, you're not really going to see any big effects. Like, you're not going to see anything negative happen just from that one post-show meal alone. The issue is when that one post-show meal becomes, a post-show dinner and then a post-show brunch, and then Monday your coworkers take you out to lunch, and then Tuesday you go to dinner with your family, and then Wednesday you have happy hour with your friend. And like, next thing you know, like, you haven't nailed down your reverse at all. You've been eating out every other day because people want to celebrate you and you can't say no. And that's a boundary issue. But that is where people gain 30 pounds in 2 months. Like, that's where you see the really horrible rebounds, is because not only are you trying to fight your body's like natural biology and your hunger signals and your thyroid, but now you're like adding on top inflammation, water retention, digestive issues, and that just opens a whole nother can of worms. So what tends to happen is, after the show, your metabolic, uh, or we'll just say your metabolism, your energy expenditure for the day, it is downregulated. So you can't just go from like eating low calories and having high activity to back to normal, like eating normal and not doing hours of cardio a day. Um, your energy expenditure is going to be down like 10-20%. You're not going to be fidgeting as much. You're not going to be burning as many calories. Like, you're a very efficient creature at this point because your cardiovascular, from all the cardio, is likely very trained. Um, but your hormones, so your cortisol is more than likely going to be very high. Your sex hormones are more than likely going to be very low, and your thyroid is going to be suppressed. So all of these things lead to, like I mentioned earlier, like inflammation, lots of water retention, lack of recovery. And also, like, this kind of ties into the mental piece, but like, when you see yourself gaining weight, like, mentally, it's really hard to come to terms with that. But at this point, it's not about weight gain. Um, your body is signaling for survival. Like, to your body, you are in survival mode because you haven't been eating enough and you've been doing a lot of activity, asking a lot of your body. Um, so I think the physical rebound, like, understanding the post-show process with that, it is so critical. Um, and so there's going to be different options. So you can reverse diet or you can recovery diet. And the difference between the two is going to be, reverse is a gradual increase. So it's what it sounds like. Reverse dieting is you're reversing the dieting process. Recovery diet is, it's when you've pushed yourself really hard. Maybe your calories were really low, cardio was really high for a long amount of time, and you need to get back to that maintenance point faster. There's going to be pros and cons to either approach. Personally, I like to reverse diet because I think mentally, although it draws the dieting process out a little bit longer, it helps with adjusting to the weight that you're gaining, and it helps with the mental side of things, but it also helps physically with your health, because if you are eating a lot of food really quickly right off the bat, that isn't necessarily like a proper recovery diet. A proper recovery diet still has structure in place, so I don't want to get that like confused. The reverse diet is going to be best for those who have like really strong self-control. They have minimal health issue. Excuse me. Recovery diet is going to be better for athletes who have amenorrhea, so they don't have their period anymore, who had to push really, really hard, who struggle with food like binge eating or overeating, or if they are experiencing like extreme fatigue. And what we found in the research as well is that women are going to gain hormonal balance faster with adding in more food, not less. So with I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. With the physical side of post-show, I think the biggest struggle that I come across is people literally having, like, the growing pains where they're gaining weight back, maybe clothes aren't fitting the way that they used to, things just aren't, feeling the way that they used to, and people get really, really frustrated by that. And it can start to affect your mental. But since we're talking about physical right now, um I would say tips on navigating this is going to be taking your focus away from the aesthetic. So taking your focus away from tracking your weight loss, your cardio time, your steps, like all of these things that we track for months and months and months in prep. In the post-show phase, like, you don't need to be meticulously tracking your weight. You don't need to be stepping on the scale in the morning and at night and stressing over like a pound, right? Like a pound gain could be water, could be salt, could be stress, could be your hormones trying to refluctuate, could be the fact that we're reverse dieting and we are quite literally adding more food in. Like, there's so many different reasons why you might see something occurring. So my biggest thing is, like, let's focus on less aesthetics and focus more on strength. Let's set PR goals. Let's focus on, like, what numbers can you hit with in what lifts, and then also with, like, the cardio aspect of things. So typically with most preps that I've done and then most preps that I've put my clients through, cardio is really high at, like, anywhere from like 45 minutes to like 2 hours a day, right? Depends on the person, but you want to decrease that over time as well. So in the post-show phase, like, the physical aspect of things, it does come down to reducing that amount of output and the amount of cardio that you're doing. And then also just using other things like digestion, your sleep, how you're feeling, your energy, your mood. Those are all biofeedback tools that you want to monitor as well post show, especially for the physical aspect of things. And I do just want to, like, reiterate, gaining weight in the post show phase, like, it's not a failure. It's a function. It's what we need to be doing. You can't be stage lean year round and be healthy. I just, unless you're genetically blessed, which you're not. Like, that sounded harsh. Um, I think we all want to feel special and we all want to think that, oh, it's different for me. Like, I'm blessed or I'm genetically different or genetically special or whatever is unique in this way. And it's like, more than likely, respectfully, you're not different. Like, the physical aspect post show of gaining weight is a normal phenomenon. And you are more than likely not somebody who can maintain 9% body fat as a woman and have, like, perfect blood markers and feel and perform and be, you know, yourself every single day. Most women that I know, in fact, the large majority of my athletes, as well as myself, post show physically cannot maintain. Like, my stage weight is 120. I cannot maintain 120 as a body weight year round. I can't. And I wouldn't want to, because it doesn't feel good to be that small. Like, I don't feel well when I am that small. Same thing with most of my athletes. Like, I think the issue with the prep and the issue with the physical is, like, we can see it. So, like, with the contest prep, you can see your um body changing and you can see the achievements. But then post show, when you're gaining weight back, like, you can see it as well, but you don't necessarily want to, right? So that kind of ties into the last episode as well, with, like, the control aspect and the mental side of things, like, just accepting that physically your body is going to look different post show, and that's okay. Gaining weight back, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're not a good bodybuilder, that, somehow you're a bad athlete. Like, it doesn't mean any of those things at all. And I think most of the time I see this struggle with my women competitors, because I've noticed with men, they want to gain weight post show. Like, they're always like, oh, I can't wait to get strong again. And, like, I think that mentality can work for us as well, like, as women, where, okay, cool. Like, I just spent 5 months prepping, getting the leanest that I've ever gotten in my life. And now post show, my goal is not to be the smallest, leanest version of myself. My goal is to implement the judges' feedback, or, whatever it may be. But if the judge's feedback is growth and that you need to grow, then like that means that you have to be comfortable putting weight on and growing. Um, so I think just understanding like post show, there's a lot of things that physically are going to be different and are going to change is important. And I do have some guests in mind to bring on for this specific podcast and just how other people have had these experiences and what they've been like post show. I know that this one's probably a little bit of a shorter episode, but I think it'd be more fun to have this as a conversation with somebody on like how they handle the physical changes, and then we can kind of dive into like how I handle it. But all in all, I just want people to understand like post show gaining weight is not a knock to your accomplishment. It doesn't mean that, you know, um what you accomplished is like all undone or that you're regressing. Like gaining weight back and seeing your physical body change and be softer post show is normal. Um, so I think for this week, my encouragement to you, if this is where you're at, or if you're going into a post show soon, is just understand that like the physical aspect of things is going to change, and physically you're going to feel different, but most of the time it's a positive thing. Like most of the time physically you start to feel healthy, you have more energy, you start to feel more like yourself, or you're like joking. And that's what I really love to see is like that part of the process. So this week, maybe like have a goal for yourself to see like how do I feel when I hit my plan, and like I get to eat a little bit more, I have a little bit more energy. Like track 3 biofeedback markers from this week and then reflect on them. But this is the physical side of post show. Just knowing that your body is going to change and that you need to remember all the pain and like what it took to get you that lean, because it's not sustainable, it's not maintainable, and you're not going to do that every single day to just look like that every single day. Gaining weight back is cool. I think getting your hormones, your hunger signaling back to normal, getting your cortisol back down, like take care of your health, and your physical external body will reflect that. As always, if you did like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay relentless. Cut. Oh, I am getting sleepy for no reason.